This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Gamefly. Coming up, we've assembled the team together today to give you our review of the Avengers.
Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
Today in movies, we are starting out the summer blockbuster season with a film that is basically 4 years in the making. You could argue it is, I don't know when the comics first came
50
out.
50 years in the making.
But it really is an unprecedented, I think, sequence of events in movies where Marvel, who makes these comic books, put out, got the rights back to producing their own films, and put out Iron Man 4 years ago, and started planting the seeds for a crossover film. A crossover is a thing that happens in comics all the time, happens in TV shows from time to time. Don't think it really happens in movies all that much.
Very rare, if any.
If it does, there
Maybe
isn't
Alien versus Predator.
Yeah,
Right.
There you go.
But that's good. But no, but this
That
is
is one.
this is how many movies is this? This is Iron Man, Thor, Captain America,
I'm in 2.
Iron Man 2,
The Hulk.
the Hulk, 2 Hulks, but the
Well,
Hulk.
no, just
There's the Hulk one
Incredible Hulk,
because they only them did Incredible Hulk.
Only them did the Incredible.
So that's 5 movies, all moving towards this movie, The Avengers, that brings in those characters I just mentioned,
Including a few others,
and pits them against a villain from one of those movies, Loki, and who is trying to acquire the Tesseract, the cosmic cube that we saw in
the tail end
of Thor.
But also was the primary device in Captain America.
Correct. And so this is...
But just the mere fact that conversation happened just makes me realize how much of a melding of movies.
Right.
That it's literally the bad guy from Thor using the evil device from Captain America, being protected by the Hulk, Iron Man. I mean, it's like, what is happening?
So it's all of these, and we saw Scarlett Johansson and Hawkeye and Thor and Iron Man too, right? So, okay, anyway. This is the team of superheroes versus the supervillain movie. It is written and directed by Joss Whedon, who needs no introduction on this show, but...
I'll give him one anyway.
I'll give him one anyway. I mean, this is a guy who created the TV series Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a superhero television show about a team of an angel as well, and
is a comic book
the
writer.
guy and is a comic book. He wrote one of the best critically acclaimed runs of modern X-Men comic books, Astonishing X-Men, and so they hired a guy, Joss Whedon, who was very familiar with team building, with finding the dramatic moments in popcorn fare and
Ensemble
filmmaking. Jeff, we know that you loved this, so I wonder if you can tell us not how much you loved it, but is there anything? Can you give us the anti-review? Is there anything that
Even
you
remotely didn't
love with every fiber of your being?
I wouldn't
No.
change a single frame of this movie. If I had to make any criticism of, if I was gun to my
too
head,
good.
it's too good.
Too short.
It's too short. If I gun to my head and I had to make a criticism, there's 2 things I could say. One is, as you've just outlined very well, it's kind of a cheat. He gets away with not having to introduce anybody, not having to justify anybody. You don't have to give a villain origin story, because we had a whole movie doing that. You don't have to give superhero origin stories, because we had a whole movies doing that. So it's kind of a cheat. It's a cheat I'm totally fine with. My only other criticism would be that the bad guy army is a little bland. But that's fine because the leader of the bad guy army is so interesting and awesome. So now that I've said the only...
That got me more of his weapons than characters.
Yes, and if I, as a Marvel zombie from way back, I would have chosen maybe somebody else. Totally fine, worked fine. Okay. So, that being said, I'll start at the beginning, which is to say, as you know, when I was a little kid, I would fantasize about two things primarily.
Let's just talk about the ones we can talk about on the show.
One thing. No, I mean, as far as like fantasizing about what movies could be, I thought there was two things that would like lived only in my fantasies that would never happen. One of them, an Avengers movie, big budget Avengers movie where they all had their own movies, and I thought that would never happen. And the other one, prequels to the Star Wars movies that I love. Right? Well, we all know how that worked out. So I was nervous going into this. Is like, yes, yes, I love The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Yes, I love The Watchmen. Those things all happen later in life. This is like 6 years old, 8 years old. This is Star Wars and comic books for me live in a place that is sort of pre-intellectual. It's just my childhood feelings, right? So I was a little nervous about this. As excited as I was a little nervous. And getting kind of emotional. This movie, it succeeds far beyond any way it has any right to succeed. It is one of the most entertaining experiences I've ever had at the theater. I'm talking like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars, E.T. It lives as a pure escapist entertainment. This movie stands shoulder to shoulder with those experiences for me. I was entertained. There is not a second I was not thoroughly entertained. I was cheering. I was laughing. I was invested. There's not a single character who is shortchanged or doesn't feel essential, which is like impossible. Joss Whedon did the impossible. He took a cast of stars of their own movies, huge film stars, wildly different characters with wildly different tones, unrealistic expectations in me personally and in the audience in general. Not only matched that, but gave each of these characters their own sequences. I mean, we have literally every matchup of fight you could possibly dream of as a total fanboy. We have a story that holds together. We have things that get ramped up. We have major conflicts and characterization told through action set piece. We have the story of a team coming together. Like, he earns the team. Like, we start with disparate characters that have to come together. How he introduces each character is magical and entertaining. Clever, and there is the reason that I say that it lives up to like Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark and those kinds of movies is because, and Back to the Future is another one in that pantheon for me, is those are movies that I can watch over and over and over, and I can quote, and I can, there are so many moments in this movie that one or two of them would make for a great film, and there's a dozen, 20 moments where I walk out and go, that is one of the greatest film moments ever, or quotable lines, and every character has them. A guy who just uses a freaking bow and arrow turns into one of the biggest badasses ever. I mean, I could go on and on and on. This is so wildly over the top successful, more than it has any right to be. And yes, I'm not a objective viewer here. This is little kid Jeff, but I loved it, and I wouldn't change a second. You guys may disagree, but
well, I didn't have any affinity to the Avengers. Wasn't really a big Marvel person. I was more of a sort of Batman, Superman guy growing up. Started kind of getting into it with Iron Man, which for me sort of blew the door open of the possibilities of these movies where, oh, if serious film... I mean, Spider-Man did that as well, but Iron Man specifically, you know, Spider-Man had its camp feel, which is very Sam Raimi, and I appreciated that and enjoyed it. But it didn't get me like, oh, we can do crazy shit like Batman Begins or Iron Man did, where I was like, wow, this is a movie that is not tongue-in-cheek. There's no wink that this is a comic book movie. It's only a comic book movie because I know that character exists in comics. So at that point, I started getting really excited, and then we saw some good stuff. Thor. Captain America was fun, but and I mean the Hulks exist. But I think the thing coming out of this movie was two things. One, this movie is the best Captain America movie. This movie is the best Hulk movie. For sure. This movie is the Hulk. The reason why this movie is so good is expressed in how well they handled the character of the Hulk. The character of the Hulk has been attempted so many times, and what seems really easy on paper, Lou Ferrigno painted green, breaking stuff, that was the closest to successfully portraying the character as it has ever been, and that was done in the frickin' 70s, and we've gotten big budget experiences with the Hulk. The Hulk here is the way the Hulk should be. I mean, this is the best Hulk movie that could ever be.
I agree.
And they should just give him the next Hulk movie. Although it doesn't need to be. I mean, this is the weird thing is, they don't need another Iron Man. They don't need another Captain America. They don't need another Thor. This is the best Thor movie. The only one movie that I think it's better than, but I kind of still feel like that Iron Man movie for me is sort of like, it's a little precious. You know what I mean? This is probably a much better movie than that, but I think it's the only one of the character movies where I go, it's on par with the origin movie. But the other thing is, you realize these characters do not need origin stories. They don't need origin stories.
Because we as a culture know them.
But not only that, they're so interesting as characters, you don't really care how they started because they do such crazy stuff. And you really nailed it. The other thing was, I was worried that it was going to be too Joss Whedon-y. We just saw Cabin in the Woods, screamed Joss Whedon's language, lingo. There's this way that he can have characters talk that's very heightened and stylized and can sometimes come off as not very mainstream. And there was one line that Nick Fury had at the very beginning of this movie that gave me I was like, oh no, Nick Fury doesn't talk like that. Mm-hmm. There was one specific word he chose to use, and I was like, oh no. Then, never again. I mean, it was like the glory of Joss Whedon's wordplay matched with these specific characters that we had already had set up, screamed. I mean, and the other thing is, you were saying that none of the characters got shortchanged. Also, there was the most amazing Captain America moment in this movie. There was the most amazing Iron Man moment in this movie. The most brilliant use of Thor in this movie. Yeah. The most amazing experience. I mean, the Hulk really epitomizes how amazing this movie is, because the Hulk was like,
glorious.
Glorious. He was.
The only problem I think they're going to have now is, are these characters in their own movies going to feel less than? Is it going to feel like, well, I don't get one of them now?
Joss
the other
needs
thing
to write all of them.
Yeah, right. The other thing I was going to say was, there are moments in this movie that I was like, oh, Jeff just fell in love, and because there are fan service moments that are so quick, like Iron Man shooting his laser into Cap's shield and killing. Happens like that. Yeah. Super fan service happens like that. But also, there were moments that were just like, oh, why would you? Moments where he uses the vibro shield, or whatever, the vibridium, or whatever it's made of, in ways that he never even came close to doing in his own movie, that are the most brilliant ways, like when he jumps up and curls behind it.
So fucking awesome.
I mean, it was just
it's so awesome.
That is how you would use that.
It's so awesome.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's a writer who knows these characters, who lived and breathed it.
And that is specifically a Captain America moment that could only exist with Captain America.
I know.
And blows your mind.
I want to follow up on some things you guys have said and ask you a couple of questions. One, you guys are both talking about how no character's been shortchanged, and I want to follow up with that and say that not only has no character been shortchanged, not only are the superheroes not been shortchanged, but the movie opens very smartly on the human dilemma and the human action heroes. And we start and end, and throughout the movie never loses sight of the humans fighting amongst the superheroes. And like I said, I think it just starts smartly on just the humans before we see superheroes. and even having human action scenes that would be the James Bond action scene,
Yeah.
you know? But let me ask you about how this operates as a summer action movie.
Lot of action.
No. Not in terms of that. Okay, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. But do you think this operates like, I was thinking about this, like, does this work like the X-Men movie? Like, can my parents go and see the Avengers movie having never seen, and I don't just mean continuity of story,
Yeah.
I mean cinematic experience. Can you go to the movies to see this Avengers thing knowing nothing about the characters, knowing nothing about the comic books, nothing about having not seen Iron Man, Thor, and whatever? Can you go see a movie about that? This is the first movie. This is Avengers Part 1.
Yeah.
Can you go have...
Yeah.
I think so.
Do you think it works
I
as an
sat-
action movie
I
on
sat
its
next to
own?
my girlfriend watching this, who isn't by any means clueless about superheroes, but didn't see Iron Man. And she had an incredible time. And I think it is a thoroughly entertaining film from start to finish. I think he manages to bring you into that world and convey concepts that should not work in a movie. Cosmic things, a helicarrier, things that should be patently ridiculous to a modern audience seem completely logical
Yeah.
and awesome.
Yeah.
And I really do think this is going to have broad appeal. And if they make sequels to this and they let anyone near it that is not named Joss Whedon,
Yeah.
it will be a crime, because I don't think anybody can do this. I don't think anybody can do this.
And that's the other thing you got to realize is these characters are so rich. If you haven't seen the movie Iron Man, you still get Tony Stark's. You get all that you would get out of Iron Man.
You get his relationship with Pepper Potts, which is like, she's in one scene, right?
Yeah.
We have a whole movie establishing their relationship, getting them together, but in one scene that is so brief, he does so much with so little, and like the little patter between Pepper Potts and Agent, what's his name?
Coulson.
Coulson.
Phil Coulson.
Which is 3 lines, maybe.
Yeah.
You get that whole relationship. You get nuance.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many moments like that.
Yeah.
So let me close with one question to you, Jeff, which is there, we can start small and then broaden out. Is there an Avengers comic book that is as good as this movie? Part 2?
No.
Is there a comic book, a superhero, Man in Tights comic book that you've read that is in your life that is as good as the Avengers?
That's a hard thing to say, because there is not. I think I've had experiences reading
Astonishing
comic books.
X-Men, is that as good as the Avengers?
No. It's one of the greatest comic book stories ever told, for sure. Yeah, I didn't think about it in those terms, but it's true. It's true, and it's unbelievable. But they pulled it off. He pulled it off. It shouldn't work.
Yeah.
And I think it's a better movie than all the summer movies last year combined. It is
All
yeah.
the summer movies last year combined.
Oh my God. All right, that's Avengers. It's a must-see.
a must-see.
All right, everybody, be sure to stick around. We're going to be answering one of your Twitter questions right after this. But first, we want to thank our sponsors, Jeff Cannata.
Do you want to play more video games?
I would love to be able to play more video games. They're
Sure.
just so damn expensive.
I got a solution for you.
What?
GameFly, the largest online video game rental service on the planet. It offers you a choice from over 7,000 new and classic titles
That's a
across
lot of games.
Oh, boy. Across all handhelds and consoles. You can start as low as $15.95 a month. That gives you a subscription of video games. They'll send you a game. You
Yeah.
play it as long as you want. Send it back when you want. No late
Games
fees,
cost
no
so much money, too.
duties.
No duties.
No duties.
Duties.
No shipping fees.
Duty free. It's duty free.
It's duty free.
Send you the next on your list, and if you like it, you simply click it, click keep it. That's not easy to say.
No, you click like it.
If
keep
you
it.
like it, click keep it.
Yep.
And you're gonna get a reduced fee, and they'll send you the case and manual. It's all super cool. We'll give you a free. Man, I am not having a good time.
That's all right.
Speaking today.
That's okay.
15-day free trial.
Bam.
Gamefly.com/TTRS is where you go. Please do that. Use the TTRS on the end of the Gamefly.com/, and we will be very grateful.
I want to know where I put my just hit your trailer to the Gamefly.com/.
That's right.
Amazing. All right, people, get your backgrounds in. FansTotallyRadShow.com. We will see you tomorrow.
Cool. Tomorrow's a big one.
Join us tomorrow for the return of Title Fight.
Today's Twitter question sent to us with the hashtag #TRSQ is from @Ryan M. Mahler. Mayor. Oh, that's an I. Mayor. Who's your favorite character actor? It's a good question.
Great question. I have a ton.
Yeah.
The first one that popped into my head, probably because I've seen him so recently and was reminded how much I like him, Richard Jenkins.
Yes.
Who we just recently saw in Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
But is amazing in everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
I particularly recommend Flirting with Disaster, where he is
Interesting.
hilarious and awesome,
Yeah.
and it's a great movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. And there are movies like The Visitor where
Oh, so great.
he's not the character actor.
He's the lead,
playing
yeah.
the lead, yeah.
And Six Feet
very
Under is
good.
great.
Yeah. Dan?
I don't know. It's tough. What I actually find very interesting about character actors is how they really date whatever you're watching, and they like. There's so many guys in the '80s that we saw, and they're like that guy.
Yeah.
Like even he was in Super 8 recently. Noah Emmerich. He's the friend in Truman Show.
Yeah.
But he's in everything.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But he was really in a ton of movies in the '90s,
Yeah.
right? And in the '80s, it was that guy Bruce McGill, who's in all of Michael Mann's movies. He was the you guys know him, a heavyset guy, and he was in Bruce Willis, Cop with Damon Wayans, Shane Black.
Last Boy Scout?
Last Boy Scout. His partner that gets blown up in the car bomb in the
Spoiler.
beginning.
Oh, yeah,
That guy's
yeah.
in everything.
Yeah,
Kind of looks like your
everything.
dad a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'd have to see a picture to remember
Oh
that,
my
but
God.
Look at your dad.
I would say, for me, recently, he was in Carnival. He was one of the leads in Carnival, Toby Huss, who I loved in Cowboys and Aliens. Do you remember that guy I kept
yeah.
talking about in Cowboys and Aliens? I was like, I love that
never
guy.
saw
He's so
that,
great.
but-
Where he was drunk at
Yeah.
the thing, and then the aliens come and blow
Is
over
this
you.
also the bad guy in Highlander?
No,
Is he in
that's
Carnival? He's the-
No. That's Clancy Brown. who's
Oh, that
also-
does look like your dad.
Oh, he does look like my dad. From
MacGyver's best friend.
Yeah, from
whose eye
MacGyver.
twitches.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he does look a lot like my dad right there.
Wait, is he MacGyver's best friend?
Whose
Yeah.
eye twitches.
Yeah, you're right.
When he lies.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But no, that's Clancy Brown, who's another amazing from The Highlander
Yeah,
and all
a
sorts
lot.
of
I
other
love
things.
Lost.
I love the
Yeah.
character actor.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that
great.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Here's to
at
you.
Ryan
Here's
M.
to
Mayer.
you.
Character actor.
We don't punch it out, remember? I was just doing this.